The man who survived two ends of the world. Imagine, you're going on a business trip, expecting a normal work week. You think about home, family, plans for the future, and a few days later, you witness the most devastating event in human history. And then, again. Thus began the incredible story of a simple Japanese engineer named Tsutomu Yamaguchi. Chapter 1. A quiet morning in Hiroshima. It was August 1945. The war in World War II had already lasted for 6 long years. The Japanese Empire was weakening, and the Allied forces were advancing ever closer. Cities were living in tension, frequent alarms, air raids, food shortages. 29-year-old Tsutomu Yamaguchi was an engineer at a Mitsubishi Heavy Industries shipyard. He was sent to Hiroshima to design and oversee the construction of a new oil tanker. For him, it was a routine work trip. He planned to finish his work and board the train back to Nagasaki on August 6th, where his wife and young son were waiting. In the morning, he packed his things, grabbed his pass and ticket, and headed to the tram stop. The day promised to be hot. Chapter 2. 8:15. The moment that changed everything. At 8:15 a.m., he heard a strange hum. He looked up and saw a silver plane in the sky. The Enola Gay bomber. A second later, a blinding flash. The light was so bright, it was as if the sun had fallen from the sky. And then came the sound. The shock wave knocked him off his feet and threw him tens of meters away. He heard his eardrum burst. All around him, screams, debris, dust, heat. He found himself just 3 kilometers from the epicenter of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima. Many people around him simply vanished in the first seconds. Tsutomu was burned on the right side of his body and lost hearing in one ear, but survived. When he came to, the city was burning. Houses had turned to black ash. The streets were littered with bodies and debris. Chapter 3. Ghost Town. He wandered the streets, wrapping his burns in cloth, and saw people wandering around Hiroshima, charred, their skin hanging from their arms like rags. No one understood what had happened. Atomic weapons were unknown then. Some thought it was a giant incendiary bomb. Others thought the end of the world had begun. He spent the night in a makeshift shelter among the survivors. And when he opened his eyes in the morning, his first thought was, I need to go home. To Nagasaki. Chapter 4. The Journey Back. On August 7th, a day after the explosion, despite his burns and weakness, Tsutomu reached the train station. Miraculously, an evacuation train was rolling along the tracks. Survivors sat around, many silent, empty-eyed. No one knew that Hiroshima had become the first city in history to be destroyed by an atomic bomb. The journey took almost a day. He arrived in Nagasaki that evening. His wife couldn't believe he was alive. His body was wrapped in bandages, his face was burned, but he smiled. I'm home. Bahamaf. Chapter 5. A warning. No one believed. The next day, he went to the Mitsubishi office. His colleagues were glad to see him, unaware of what he had been through. He told his superiors, Hiroshima was destroyed by a single bomb. An entire city wiped off the map. But no one took it seriously. How could one bomb destroy a city? It sounded like nonsense, even during wartime. Tsutomu felt like a madman who knew the truth but couldn't convince others. Chapter 6. The Second Explosion. On August 9th, 1945, in the morning, he was back at work. Around 11 a.m., he was called into his boss's office. He was standing by the window when he heard a familiar roar. An airplane appeared in the sky, and the next moment, a flash. He managed to fall to the floor and cover his head. The explosion shook the building. It was the second atomic bomb, the bombing of Nagasaki. It was dropped on another part of the city, a little further from his office. This is what saved his life. Despite the burns he suffered in Hiroshima, he survived again. His house was destroyed, but his wife and son survived. His wife was on her way to look for him at the time, and only survived because she took refuge in a tunnel where he called her.
Chapter 7. After the Apocalypse. The city was in ruins. Many residents of Nagasaki didn't even understand what had happened. The government concealed the scale of the disaster. But Tsutomu knew, because he had already seen it. He witnessed two of the most devastating explosions in human history and survived. For several weeks he suffered from radiation sickness. His hair fell out, and his burns festered. But miraculously, he survived and recovered. Chapter 8. New Life and Silence. After the war, Tsutomu did not become famous. He simply returned to his work as an engineer, raised his son, and lived a quiet life. For a long time, he remained silent about his experiences. In Japan, people didn't like to talk about the atomic bombings. It was a pain they tried to forget. Only decades later did he begin to tell his story. Not for fame, but to warn the world. Chapter 9. I'm not special. He told reporters, I'm not a hero. I'm not special. I simply ended up not where I wanted to be, but where I was supposed to survive. In 2009, he was officially recognized as the only person he survived both atomic bombings. He lived to be 93, becoming a symbol of peace and resilience. Chapter 10. The Lesson He Left Behind. Tsutomu Yamaguchi's story is more than just a tale of luck. It's a reminder of the value of life and how fragile our world is. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a politician. He was an ordinary engineer who looked the apocalypse in the face twice and chose to live. He said, "If I had died in Hiroshima, I wouldn't have known my wife was alive. If I had died in Nagasaki, I wouldn't have known the world could change. I don't want anyone else to know that feeling."